Hello guys, welcome to Selenium WebDriver tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to learn about the WebDriver interface in Selenium. Now, till now, we have used or we have created an instance of the ChromeDriver class, right? So in Java, to create the object of a class, you simply have to use the keyword new along with the class. So basically this line here creates an object of the ChromeDriver class, and then we have assigned to the instance variable driver, and then we can invoke the methods that are defined in this particular class, right? Now, if we hover over this ChromeDriver, we can see the details of the ChromeDriver here, right? What all it does. So if you see the ChromeDriver, so a WebDriver implementation that controls a Chrome browser running on the local machine. So this basically, this class ChromeDriver is an implementation of the WebDriver interface. Okay, so WebDriver in Selenium is an interface, and Chrome browser or the Firefox browser are the classes that implement that interface. Now, to get more details about these Java concepts, I'll be coming up with the new tutorial series, so don't worry about that. But for now, you just need to remember that WebDriver is an interface, and all the classes like ChromeDriver, FirefoxDriver, EdgeDriver, Internet Explorer driver, or Safari driver are the implementing classes that implement the WebDriver interface. Okay. So now, why do we need to use the WebDriver interface when we are using or we are instantiating an object of the class? The reason for that is, so for example, here we have to execute the code on multiple browsers, or say Firefox browser, right? So we can't keep doing, or like we just comment this particular line and then we instantiate the Firefox, Firefox driver is equal to new Firefox driver. Okay, so to show you an example, I can simply change it. So Firefox, okay, Firefox driver, yeah. So here we can't keep doing this. So if we want to execute the same code on Firefox driver, I have to comment the above line and then add Firefox driver is equal to new Firefox driver, right? This is not the good practice. Now, when you are designing your automation framework, most probably what you will be doing is you will be reading the you will be storing your configuration in an external file, be it the flat file or Excel file or CSV file, and then reading the configuration from there. And based on that configuration, you will be executing your test cases. And similar is the case for the browsers as well. Say, for example, you want to execute your test case on Chrome browser, you will change the configuration in Excel file to Chrome and read that value from Chrome, from the Excel file, and then use it for the execution. So most probably how you will be doing it. So I won't go into detail of how you'll read the content from the Excel file in this particular tutorial. I'll cover that as part of the later tutorial. So let's see how you can do it. So here, if you see, usually what you will do is you will define some variable, say, to read the browser details from the Excel file. So you'll say a string, and then I'll read this value from the Excel file. Okay, so I'll say Firefox, and if this value is Firefox, then based on this particular value, I'll use if-else statement, right? So I'll use something like if browser dot equals, and here we'll say Firefox. Okay, then in that particular case, execute the code that is specific to Firefox. So in this case, what we'll do is we'll say WebDriver manager, and we'll remove this Chrome, and here we'll say Firefox WebDriver. Okay, and next, else if, I'll copy this, browser is equal to Chrome, then here it will instantiate the object for the Chrome browser. Okay, I'll uncomment that, and accordingly you can have further else if statements. Okay, so if it is Firefox, then you execute this bit of code and then go further and execute. And then if it is like a Chrome browser, that is coming from the configuration, so this field can come from your external configuration, okay, which can be your Excel file, okay, or any other CSV file, etc. So based on on which browser you want to execute your test case, you will store that into the Excel file. There will be a code that will read that value and store it into the a variable here, and based on this value it will check if else statements, and if it is like a Firefox browser, it will instantiate an object of the Firefox driver and then go ahead and execute. Now let's see the problem with this particular code here. So because now I have defined the ChromeDriver, right, we created an object here in this particular block. I don't need these 3 lines, right? So I'll just remove these lines because I have copied them in the other code block, right? Control Shift F to format it, and now you will see that I've started getting error here, right? So either I have to create a local variable driver, because the scope of the variable driver, which is holding the Firefox driver object, is only this much, and the scope of the Chrome driver variable is only up to this. So either I have to define something global. I can say public static and then Firefox driver and then driver. Okay, so now this driver is global. Okay, and you can see the error has gone now. Okay, because this driver variable is now available globally and this can find it. So now here I can remove this. Okay, so now what will happen if I try to execute this particular piece of code? Okay, so currently the browser is Firefox and I have defined a driver here, and then based on that it will first check if browser is equal to Firefox. It will create a new object, Firefox driver object, and then it will go ahead and execute this particular code. Okay, so let's try and run this code and see the execution. So let me run it. So it's launching the browser. Yeah, and it will open the portal and it will type in username and password, and login is successful, right? So it executed this particular piece of code successfully, right? Now if I change, say for example, now I want to execute the same code on the Chrome browser, I'll change it to Chrome. Okay, so which is basically which will come from your external CSV file. Okay, so I changed the browser to Chrome. I want to execute all my scripts on the Chrome browser. So if I run this, what will happen? Let me run it again and see what is the behavior. There are no errors in this particular code that you can see, but let's see what happens. Okay, so it has thrown this null pointer exception. Okay, it opened the browser, Chrome browser, but it couldn't launch any of the URL and cannot proceed further. So how much code did it execute? So here I have defined the Chrome browser. Okay, so when it started executing this main method, it came into the browser dot equals it this if clause is false. So it came to the else if, and here it found browser is equal to Chrome, and then it launched the browser. Okay, it created a new object for the Chrome driver and it launched the browser. But after that, it is not able to navigate to any of the URL or perform any of these methods. Okay, it can't execute the get method, it can't open this website. Now what is the reason for that? Okay, the reason is because this driver, the global driver variable that you have defined, is for the FirefoxDriver class. It is not for the ChromeDriver class. So the next thing you can do is you can define one more global variable and for ChromeDriver, and you can say ChromeDriver is equal to driver. Okay, so public static ChromeDriver driver. But you can't have two variables of the same name, so they are duplicate, right? You can see the duplicate error. So either you have to like change it to driver1. So if you change it to driver1, then you have to change it to driver1 here. Okay, and then you have to repeat the same code for driver1. Okay, so this is not a feasible approach. If you have to execute, say for example on Safari, on Edge, will you keep doing or declaring these global variables for each of the browser and then repeating this code for each of the browser? So that is not the good approach, and that is why we need to use WebDriver interface. So how we can do that? We'll simply comment this line, and here I'll say WebDriver driver. Okay, and import the package. So just click on it and import WebDriver. Right, so now if I change it to driver, so there is a global variable WebDriver driver, and then because this is an interface and all these are the classes, so ChromeDriver is a class, FirefoxDriver is a class, these classes are implementing the interface. So before we get into detail, let me show you the Javadoc so you can be more comfortable. So here if we see, this is to go to the Javadoc, simply go to just Google and type in Selenium WebDriver Javadocs. Okay, and you'll see that overview Selenium. If you click on this particular link, it will redirect you to the Javadoc. So let's scroll down and see the interface, WebDriver interface. Okay, so anything in the italics here is the interface, and all others are the class. So let's see, so all these are the interfaces. So if you see WebDriver IME handler, so this is an interface, WebDriver is an interface. Okay, so we'll cover all these details in the Java tutorial. I don't want to go into much detail of what is interface and what are classes. I'm just trying to briefly explain you the concept of class and interface and the objects, so that it's easier for you to follow this whole Selenium tutorial series and why things are done this way. So this is an interface, and then that these are the implementing class. So all the Chrome driver, Edge driver, all these web drivers, or basically the browser drivers, are implementing this interface. And this the super interface of the WebDriver is the search context. So that's the topmost level of the interface for the WebDriver. You can see that sub interface is the WebDriver and web element for the search context, and then these are the classes. So ChromeDriver, Edge driver, FirefoxDriver, Internet Explorer driver are the classes. So in Java, the basic thing to remember is that you can't instantiate, or you can't create objects of the interface. So you can create objects of the classes. So that is why when we are going to the class ChromeDriver, we were able to do like ChromeDriver driver is equal to new ChromeDriver, or FirefoxDriver is equal to new FirefoxDriver. But we can't do WebDriver is equal to new WebDriver, because WebDriver is an interface and these are the classes. So FirefoxDriver and ChromeDriver are the classes that are implementing that interface. And we have seen that if we instantiate or create an object of the class like ChromeDriver or FirefoxDriver, we can only drive those particular browsers. Now, if we want to drive multiple browsers and do not want to, duplicate our code for each of the browsers, we have to basically create an object of the class FirefoxDriver or ChromeDriver, and by taking the reference of the interface, which is WebDriver. Okay, so that is what we are doing now. So we are taking a reference of the interface WebDriver and then creating the classes of specific browser. So here I won't take this reference. I'll remove the reference of the ChromeDriver class, and I am taking the reference of the WebDriver interface here. So I have defined this global variable driver for WebDriver interface, and then these objects, so new FirefoxDriver object is taking the reference of this WebDriver interface. So now if the browser is Chrome, or the browser that is read from the external configuration file is Chrome, then it will come to this if block. It will check that it is not the Firefox, it is Chrome. It will come to Chrome section here. It will find it is equal to Chrome. It will create an object of the Chrome driver, and then it will execute all these particular lines of code here. Okay, and if it is like Firefox or Edge, you don't have to repeat these lines of code. The only thing you have to do is you just have to maybe say, for example, you want to execute your code on Edge as well. So you just need to add else if equals Edge, and then here I'll change it to the Edge driver and new Edge driver. Okay, and import the Edge driver package. All right, so depending on what value now comes from the external file like XML or Excel, CSV or database, depending on that, it will execute these lines of code, and it will do the if else statement, and based on that it will execute the further code. So let's try to execute this particular code now. Let me remove this line as well and do a formatting. So okay, let's run this and see that now it executes fine on Chrome, Firefox and Edge by changing just the value here. So now we don't have to repeat any of these lines. So let me run it. So you can see ChromeDriver started successfully. It should, yep, it logged in, and then it will close the browser. Okay, now say for example you want to execute your code on Firefox, just change it to Firefox and run the code again. It will run successfully on Firefox. It will open the Firefox browser and enter the username and password, log in and close the browser. Let's check the Edge browser as well. So change the browser to Edge and it will launch the Edge browser starting. It's taking a bit time. It opened the browser, it logged in and it closed the browser. So that is the reason or the whole logic behind using or creating an object of the class like FirefoxDriver, Edge driver, ChromeDriver, and taking the reference of the WebDriver interface. Okay, so that you don't have to duplicate your code and it becomes easy for you to manage the whole automation suite, right? So, and the other thing is reading this particular Javadoc. So this is very important. So if you will closely have a look at the interface, going through the documentation. Say for example you go to this particular interface, you will see you will understand what are the implementing classes and go through these classes. You will find what are the methods that are defined in this interface. So if you'll see closely, WebDriver interface has these particular methods, right? So get title, get page source, get current URL. Then if you go to the class ChromeDriver, you will see all more methods that are available there. Okay, so here you will see that methods that are inherited from the remote WebDriver. Okay, so remote WebDriver is again a class, and then which implements this interface WebDriver, and then these are the direct known subclasses. ChromeDriver is the subclass of the remote WebDriver. So the methods that are provided in the remote WebDriver, you'll see all these methods, right? So that is why when you use ChromeDriver, so you have these methods here, and then these methods, the other methods like find elements by name or partial link text, partial elements by tag, etc., are coming from the remote WebDriver. Okay, so these are the methods that are inherited from the remote WebDriver. So this is very good starting point to basically understand or start reading the Java docs and see what all methods are there, what is the hierarchy. This will help you a lot in understanding the technicalities of how the Selenium WebDriver is being implemented and what is the hierarchy of the interface and classes in Selenium WebDriver. So that's pretty much all about this particular tutorial. Hope you like it. Thank you very much for watching.